Joining me now, Steve Malzberg, host of the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV. Steve, where do you stand in this divide?
I think that it's perfectly legitimate for members of the media, conservative media, to have differences with Donald Trump. I think they're going way, way overboard, and I think they're doing harm that is not going to be easy to repair.
Who's doing harm?
I think National Review.
With their anti-Trump issue.
Yeah, with their anti-Trump issue, the editorial, and then having 22 writers on to trash Trump. I had two of them, Andy McCarthy and Bill Kristol, who I love and respect greatly, on my show that next day. And neither one was willing to say that if Trump was the nominee, they would support him.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Five. That's me on reliable sources with a very gracious host, and we had a lot of fun. And nice segment. I love being on there and being able to express the conservative viewpoint on CNN. It's always great. Here's some more.
All indications are that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee of the party. At least that's what I believe.
Is it fair to say you're pro-Trump?
It's fair to say that I'll support whoever the nominee is.
Do you see an opening for networks like Newsmax TV and shows like yours to take advantage of the fact that Fox might be perceived as not so pro-Trump?
Absolutely. We get emails every single day. I take calls on my show, live calls. I think I'm the only network show to do that.
Risky.
And risky, but we have
Fun.
Great callers, and 9 out of 10 of them say we switched from Fox because we're tired of the way they treat Trump, and we're tired, they say they're not really conservative.
All right. By the way, Brian Stelter, of course, is the gracious host that I was referring to. And now we talk about more of the conservative media criticism of Donald Trump and focus on 08 and 012.
Was the conservative media this active and outspoken at this point against Mitt Romney or against John McCain? And you could argue that they are not true conservatives. They were classified by many people as rhinos. Donald Trump has not only done great for the Republican Party, energized the base that's out there. Call it conservative, call it whatever you want. People are going to come out and vote for Donald Trump that would otherwise sit home.
That's absolutely true. And then I think we get to a very important point, which I really wanted to make, and I was glad I was able to make this point, about what Donald Trump has done to damage Hillary Clinton already. Watch.
And let me point this out. Hillary Clinton doesn't mention she's the champion of women anymore. She doesn't say the word women anymore because of Donald Trump. Her poll numbers with women are way down because of Donald Trump, who has exposed and brought up the topic, thanks in part to Roger Stone as well, of Bill Clinton and his women and Hillary as an enabler. And Bill Clinton's approval rating, according to the last CNN New York Times poll, 39%. When he was campaigning for her in 2012, it was over 60%. Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
He's in my head. By the way, it wasn't a CNN New York Times poll. It was a CBS New York Times poll. I had CNN on the brain. What could I say? Now, earlier in the segment, Brian read a statement from Reporters Without Borders, whose job it is to worry about, freedom of the press in countries, repressive countries, dictatorships, Iran. And they put out a statement on Donald Trump picking on reporters. So here's this reaction.
You think he'll also stop demonizing reporters so damn much? I read that statement from Reporters Without Borders because I'm really concerned about the way he is continuing to sow distrust of the press.
I think Reporters Without Borders should have better things to do than to criticize Donald Trump. Let them really fight where freedom of the press doesn't exist.
Yeah, I know if Reporters Without Borders is worried about Donald Trump criticizing reporters when journalists are killed in other countries. All right, and then it comes out to what Donald Trump's last name would be, in my opinion, if he were under FBI investigation.
And let me point something about the liberal media, if I might. If Donald Trump were under FBI investigation, his last name, every time his name was mentioned, would be, who is under FBI investigation.
As far as we know, Clinton has not been interviewed by the FBI.
No, but she's under FBI investigation. I think that goes without saying. That's been brought up to her. So the fact that her name gets bandied about in the media hundreds of times a day, and the tagline isn't who's under FBI investigation.
You see a double standard there.
They would trounce Trump on that. Every time they mention his name, that would be his last name.
You get my point? My point is that would be his last name. We also talked about Bill O'Reilly, who I called pathetic during his interview with Donald Trump, and who I pointed out when Trump criticized Megyn Kelly, tore her apart, Bill O'Reilly didn't say boo. All right, the continuing coverage of Iowa. Don't go away.